On today's show, that's not gonna cut it.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Caps Minute Cast, available wherever you find your podcasts. And as always, I want to thank you for making this your first listen of the day. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about the Capitals as they fall in Game 1 of the second round of the playoffs against the Hurricanes. Now, this is not optimal. This was a prime opportunity for the Capitals to get the momentum going. They were playing at Cap One in front of their fans. This was prime time to make good on an opportunity to pick up a big win. What went wrong in this game? I'll talk about that a bit later. I'll talk about keys for game number 2. Things didn't go well for the Capitals in this game, and if they want to stay in this series, and I understand there's only one game played so far, what do they have to do to walk away in victory lane in game number 2? A bit later, I'll talk about breaking down the breakdown. You take a look at it, the Capitals in the first period, the Hurricanes, pretty uneventful. Then Aliaksei Protas got on the board. Where did things go off the rails? I'll talk about that. But just to get it going here, survive and advance. And that's the title of the first segment, is that, like I said, to start off, the first period, pretty uneventful. You take a look at it, the Hurricanes were still pouring it on, but the Capitals survived. They were blocking shots. Had it not been for Logan Thompson standing on his head, the Capitals would probably have lost by a larger margin. But there are already worrisome things that I saw in the game. And if you watch the game, I got to imagine you're pretty worried as well, as that the Hurricanes were just pouring it on. And the Capitals didn't have a real answer for what they were doing. And I know that that is Rod Brind'Amour hockey, is just to pepper the netminder with as many shots as possible, and good things will happen. And that's a sound thought process. But you take a look at it, despite the fact that that is kind of how they play hockey, the Carolina Hurricanes, it ended up being just a 2-1 game. You take a look at shots on goal. First period, 12-5, Carolina. Second period, 8-6, Carolina. Third period, 11-3, Carolina. OT 2-0. So total 33 shots, Carolina, to the Capitals 14. That's shots on goal. You could take a look at that and say what was going wrong with Carolina. 33 shots on goal, and you only found the back of the net twice. I'm here to tell you, it was Logan Thompson. It was the Capitals blocking shots. Otherwise, like I say, it would have been a much bigger blowout. 32 block shots to the Hurricanes 9. The Capitals were doing what they could do to try to win this game defensively. Now they need that offense to kick in. So let's dive into that. We're going to dive into the game 1 of the second round, a heartbreaker in overtime as the Caps fell to the Hurricanes 2-1 at Cap One. And, just listening to a lot of different sources and podcasts and blogs and all that and insiders, many of them are favoring the Hurricanes to win it. Just they're built better in a lot of different metrics, that the Capitals are already kind of in this position where they're in an uphill battle. And the one thing to be clear here is this is a much different team, of course, than the Canadiens, and it's going to be that much more difficult for the Capitals to get a footing in this series. The one thing I know is they're going to have an about face when it comes to shots on goal. And I understand it's a bit of a different system that Spencer Carberry runs versus Rod Brind'Amour, but you're going to have to adjust on the fly. You saw Anthony Beauvillier playing on the top line in OT. You saw Protas bump up and Beauvillier go down to the fourth line. You're going to have to shake things up. The things that worked for the Capitals during the regular season when they weren't playing well are going to have to be implemented here. The problem, however, is they don't have a lot of runway to get it done. And, just being down one game at home, it kind of just leaves a sour taste in my mouth that we're definitely not getting off on the right foot. So let's get straight to it. This game was survival from start to finish, just in shots on goal or just shots. If you watch this one, you saw a Washington team under siege for most of the night. And they did a good job, all things considered. I mean, you take a look at it. Protas had the Capitals on the board first, and I thought to myself, there was periods in this game, is Logan Thompson going to get a shutout? It was that great, but the Hurricanes absolutely poured it on. 91 shot attempts to just 33 for the Caps in regulation. You heard me right. 91 shot attempts to the Capitals, 33 in regulation. That has got to change. Despite it being a 2-1 victory in overtime, it worked for the Hurricanes. And it's just not sustainable for the Capitals to be blocking that many shots and for Logan Thompson to be bulletproof. I mean, Logan Thompson is an excellent netminder, still is. And I don't want anyone walking away from the game tonight thinking that Logan Thompson is less than stellar. But 91 shot attempts to 33, that is one amazing disparity between the two teams there. But still, the Capitals struck first early in the second. Protas, back from injury and still shaking off rust, scored his first career playoff goal with a beauty of a wrist shot. And that was a fist-pumping moment. Offensively, the only fist-pumping moment for the Capitals. And it was a good feeling that Aliaksei Protas, a guy that is having a breakout season, putting up career numbers, was that key contributor. That held until midway through the third, and for a while it looked like the Caps might just steal this one. They were in survival mode, make no mistake about it, but they could only survive for so long. The sustainability of 91 shot attempts versus 33 was just too much to bear. People were selling out. They were doing what they could do. Logan Thompson played his role of Superman. It wasn't enough. He stood on his head, 31 saves, a handful of highlight reel glove stops, and just looked dialed in. And that's the thing, is this was a prime opportunity for the Capitals to win. And, I'll talk a little bit later on it as well, as Ryan Leonard has got to make the most of these opportunities. He had 2 grade A opportunities to find the back of the net and didn't make good on it. And I understand that Freddie Anderson was big in net for Carolina as well. But you take a look at it, that is the production that we're going to need to see from Ryan Leonard. And I know I get a lot of grief. People don't like, coming down hard on Ryan Leonard. But the goals, it was breakaway. Just right going to the net there and just could not convert. Frustration, I think, is the biggest thing that has me feeling about those grade A opportunities. I guess I'm going to say that Ryan Leonard had, that there were moments in the game that had, say one of those Leonard goals had gone in, I could be talking about a Capitals win right now. But the one thing that I know for sure is that the Capitals have got to find a way to deploy countermeasures to stop all of those shots. Again, we cannot count on the defense. We cannot count on Logan Thompson to stop all of these shots, or this series is going to be over sooner than anyone thinks. So those are the things that have me a bit concerned. You take a look at everything the Capitals have accomplished, winning the Metro, winning the Eastern Conference, all of that could be evaporated in a moment if the Capitals do not batten down the hatches and get back into their style of play that got them into this position in the first place. It is not happenstance or serendipitous that the Capitals are in the position that they're in right now, that the very fact that they're in the second round for the first time since 2018 is not an accident. I don't think it's over. I'm not waving the white flag, but what I know for sure is that I want practice tomorrow. I haven't heard of formally if there's going to be practice, but practice, and I would like it attended by everybody. And I want Spencer Carberry reading those players the riot act. You saw Mitch Love, who's not very much of an outspoken coach. He was irate with what was going out on the ice as far as the shot disparity is concerned. The Capitals have got to get it dialed in. You can't live on former glory. This is the playoffs. This is where the rubber meets the road. Are the Capitals prepared, or are they going to fan out? I really hope that's not the case. All right, so coming up here after the break, I will be breaking down the breakdown. The wheel started to wobble, but when did it fall off for the Capitals? I'll discuss straight ahead. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help you keep feeling fuller longer. Now, personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost. They're always my go-to snack. And if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. So get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. You can find me over on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. So breaking down the breakdown. Where did things go wrong? This game had some highlights for me. One of the highlights in the game was when Tom Wilson stole the mouth guard of Sebastian Aho. Talk about a guy, a smaller man, trying to step up to Tom Wilson, and Tom Wilson kind of gave him that shove a little bit, and he's just like took that away from him. That had to make Sebastian Aho feel about this big. But that was one of the moments that made me chuckle, and in a lot of ways, what endears Tom Wilson to this organization. But let's break down the breakdown. Where did things go wrong in this game? So as we zoom in on how the momentum shifted, it starts with the third period. The Caps were clinging to that 1-goal lead. And like I said, the feeling was, could they do it? Could they just stop the onslaught? I mean, that would be one heck of a story if the Capitals found a way to skate out of this victorious, considering all the shots in this game. And although they were bending, they had not broken yet. The momentum, Cap 1, rocking, but it was a turnover deep in their own zone, a tough pass from Protas intended for Alexiev. That Carolina jumped on. Jesperi Kotkaniemi picked it off, fed Logan Stankoven in the slot, and the rookie roofed it to tie things up. And, not optimal. And, that kind of took the air out of Cap 1. The feeling of momentum had evaporated. And, the Capitals were already in a fight or flight mode that was even enhanced that much more. From there, it was more pressure. The Hurricanes could smell blood in the water. The Hurricanes were relentless on the forecheck. And make no mistake about it, Rod Brind'Amour has that team dialed in. There is a reason that the Hurricanes make it to the playoffs so many times. Winning board battles and keeping the Capitals pinned. The shot differential alone in the third was brutal, and it really showed. And again, I don't want to jump into the negative waters here, but all I'm going to say is it's the first game. I don't want to read too much into it, but it was ugly. And, ugly in not a typical way, like I said. It wasn't like a blow, like it was a 6-1 or a 5-1 or something of that nature. It was just the shots. It was putting the Capitals in that fight or flight mode that was difficult. And, you need your key players to be dialed in throughout the game. And Jacob Chychrun, well, that high stick on Svechnikov with just over 2 minutes to play, well, that didn't help anything. That could have been the death blow, but the Capitals PK stepped up huge. That was one of their saving graces in this first game here. Block shots, clears, Thompson standing tall again. That kill was gutsy. Unfortunately, the magic didn't carry over into overtime. And that's the hard part in the playoffs, isn't it? That there is no shootout. And to be clear here, when I say hard, it's hard because the games can go on kind of indefinitely. But I'm ultimately behind not having a shootout. I would hate to have a playoff hockey style game being determined by the shootout. But what I'm talking about here is overtime. Could the Capitals continue to keep fending off that Carolina team? Just 3:06 in the extra frame. Slavin gets a look from the point, rips it through traffic, and that's it. Game over. One of those goals where no one even reacts. The red light goes on, and then everyone realized it. It was one of those moments like, did that just happen? Thompson didn't even realize it happened. So that was the difficult part for me in this game, is just how it got so out of hand. And, you take a look at it, I think that the Capitals were riding that high off that Montreal series. And I think that to a certain extent, there was some rust, but that's what they've got to do. They have got to look at the game film for one. The biggest thing, they got to think there was a lot of pre-planning. There was a lot of pre-video of how to stop what the Hurricanes are doing, but it didn't seem real apparent. So what are some of the things that we know that need to get cleaned up? Is that, the Capitals are capable of stopping a lot of those block shots. Logan Thompson is more than competent of stopping the puck. That they need to continue to do that, but they need to find a way to clamp down to countermeasure what they're doing. And Lord knows they need to get more shots on goal. And that seems like something so simple, but it's something this team has done. This team has played very well up to teams. They need to find a way to get in and just really pepper Freddie Anderson with as many shots as possible. It's a tough way to lose when you fight that hard to hang on. But let's be honest, the numbers don't lie. You can't expect to win playoff games when you're out-attempted nearly 3-1. The frustration on Spencer Carberry's face on the bench, and him, he said a curse word about the refs. And to be clear here, the Chikrin that was a high stick. And, I don't like to be the person that, dives into, it was the refs here or there, and the refs aren't perfect, right? But the Chikrin one in general was a high stick. I mean, despite the fact that Spencer Carberry did not like it, it was what it was. It was a high sticking penalty. So you take a look at it, the Capitals are going to have to do that. How do they get it done? I'll talk about adjusting in the next segment, but walking away from this one, the one thing I'll say about the Capitals is they survived the breakdown. And when I say that they survived an onslaught that could have been much worse. I know that at the end of the day, it's a loss and they didn't get a chance to meet their objective. That's the thing that they're going to have to turn around, is that we already know what the Carolina Hurricanes are going to do. We need to be ready, and we need to pack more of an offensive punch to take down a big win in game number 2. All right, so coming up here after the break, keys for game number 2. There's already a lot of negativity on social media that it's already over. I don't want to dive into those waters. Let's just plan. Let's prepare. And how do we get back into the win column in game number 2? I'll discuss straight ahead.
An award-winning mattress can change your life. I speak from experience. It happened to me. After years of uncomfortable sleeps, I recently switched to Bear Mattress, and the results were instant. Bear Mattress is designed with a focus on recovery, cooling, and pressure relief to upgrade your sleep and improve your overall quality of life. I used to deal with night sweats, but Bear's best-in-class cooling ensures optimal temperature regulation, which prevents overheating and helps me stay comfortable all night long. Bear offers a wide variety of mattresses, but to get the right one for you, take their sleep quiz that matches you to your perfect mattress based on body type and sleep preferences. Go to bearmattress.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL to get 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
All right, and welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. So going into this segment, we know what it is. The Capitals lost, and I'm all ready to move on. I'm talking about how we're going to win game number 2. This team has defied odds all season long. I'm not ready to give up on them yet. So what do the Capitals have to do to get back in the win column? We'll break it down a bit more of a granular level here. Game 2, as we know, is Thursday night, same building, same opponent, same pressure cooker. So they do have a day, but still, despite that, I want the Capitals to have a hard practice tomorrow. Go over the film and be ready. The one thing that we saw that was effective in the second period briefly was Alex Ovechkin engaged, and not engaged offensively, but engaged physically, laying out big hits that created opportunities. There was 2 big hits that I can think of in particular in the second period that led to scoring opportunities. That's what they need to do. And, I vacillated back and forth, pretty much throughout the whole playoffs here about physicality and how to adjust. Well, now we know what it is. This is not the Canadiens. This is the Hurricanes. And the one advantage that the Capitals have over the Hurricanes is they're bigger and they're tougher, and they've got to do it. Tom Wilson pulling the mouth guard on, getting into head games, and just destroying the Hurricanes into the boards is going to be what the doctor ordered. Finish your checks, take them out of the game, rattle their cage a little bit, and I think it's going to be the case. The Capitals cannot go out there and just kind of play ho-hum hockey and expect to win game number 2. You saw the players step up and make the big blocks, and Logan Thompson, but that's not going to cut it. They really need to hit him where it hurts, and if that's a physical game, then that's what we're going to have to do. Again, I know I've adjusted my position on it, but I adjusted my position from what I saw out there, that in that brief snippet of Alex Ovechkin laying it out, you saw some results. That's what we have to do in game number 2, and we very well might have to do for the series. And now they have to find a way to shift the ice. They've got to break the Hurricanes' forecheck earlier and spend less time chasing the puck in their own end. That was the frustrating part of me watching this game for me, was that a lot of times I was thinking to myself, are the Capitals on the PK right now? I mean, I look at the board, I didn't see a penalty called, but the Capitals spent a tremendous amount of time in their own end. And, they have video coaches. They have this, they have that. They have every kind of coach you can think of. They need to have someone just really figure out what the Hurricanes are doing and find a way to break it up. It's not a Rubik's Cube here, folks. It's not that difficult to defeat. I think the Capitals need to do it. Offensively, they need more from their top 6, just 13 shots on goal total in game 1. Protas, guess what? He's back to the first line. He's a proven player. He's the only Capitals player to score. Beauvillier, good, but I want to see Pro on that top line. That's not enough. Ovechkin had a few decent looks, including a one-timer on the PP, but didn't generate consistent threat. Guys like Wilson, Strome need to find a way to get to the middle of the ice and create second chances. That's what we need. And we did not see out on the ice tonight. And I know it's easier said than done, me watching it at home or you watching it maybe at Cap One, that just go out there and do it. What are you doing? I understand it's difficult, but these guys are pro athletes. They know how to get it done. The big thing, offense, we're going to need to see a whole lot more from the top performers, Strome, Ovechkin, these kind of guys that have been the secret sauce, not to mention Pierre-Luc Dubois, these kind of guys. That's what we need to see, along with physicality. Protas in this game, like I said, was the bright spot. And you hope his confidence builds from here, that he was able to do that. And same for Ryan Leonard. I know I'm tough on Ryan Leonard, that he had 2 real good looks. And, to be clear here, he was the guy that got it there, right? He didn't convert and find the back of the net. But, I don't want his confidence to be dashed. I know that he was king of the hill at Boston College, it has to be a bit deflating that the only goal he has scored in pro hockey was an empty netter. But he had that breakaway late, but couldn't bury it. You just sense he's getting close to a breakthrough. And I think that with Ryan Leonard, once that dam breaks, I think it's going to flow. Like I talk about that smiling from the inside, to talk about that in the positivity snowball, if you will. And it's not just some, new age talk out there. You saw what it meant for Mantha. And I'm referencing Mantha. You remember that season that he struggled and then found his way. Same thing with Alex Ovechkin last season, got off to a slow start. That if you have confidence, and that's what I'm talking about with Ryan Leonard. If he can start to find the back of the net, I think that could be a game changer. My only concern about all of that is there's not a lot of time to figure it out. If the Capitals don't win this series, then they're setting up tea time. They're not talking about the next round. The Capitals did the thing they need to do. They're not out of it, but we need to see more. Thompson, he was the best player. That glove is special, and if he keeps playing like this, the Caps will have a shot in every game. But he can't do it alone. Game one may be in the rear view, but there's still plenty of hockey left in this series. That's the big thing. I don't want anyone to give up on the Capitals. I know that it's easy to jump into the negativity that it's over just based on the fact of the shot differential and how difficult the Hurricanes made it on the Capitals. They've got to find a way to deploy countermeasures. So I really don't want to come to you guys talking about another Capitals loss after game two. I think the Capitals are going to have to do it. They're going to have to dig deep, and let's hope they can, in fact, pick up a big win in game number 2 at Cap One. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are what makes this show successful. When you're done here, head on over to Locked On NHL, as they have you covered 5 days a week. Available wherever you find your podcasts and on YouTube. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.